Do you know what a Zionist is?
I just ask questions, I don't answer. What's going on, guys? Speedy here from Complex. It is July 12th, 2024, and we are in Detroit, Michigan right now, just a few months out from the November 2024 presidential election. With that, President Joe Biden has agreed to sit with us for an interview right here on 360. The presumptive Republican nominee and former President Donald Trump has also received an invitation for our show. But until then, here is President Joe Biden. What's going on, guys? I'm Speedy, and the name of this show is 360 with Speedy, and today I am joined by the sitting 46th President of the United States, President Joe Biden. What's up, man? How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
I'm incredibly honored. I've heard that you've never had a drink in your life. Is this true?
That's true. I may be Irish, but the only Irish never met has never had a drink.
Ever? Well,
Ever.
This is straight vodka here for us, so we can just get comfortable.
That's why I brought along tea.
Nah, I'm just playing. I'm playing.
Teasing.
We'll move quick because we don't have that much time. But President Biden, you're getting up there, man. 81 years old. You'll be 82 at the time of the inauguration if you're reelected, 86 at the end of that presidential term. Some people are concerned that maybe you shouldn't be in this race. Are you 100% undoubtedly running for reelection?
1,000%.
1,000%. Why?
I got to finish the job. Look, for the longest time, I was either told I was too young because I got elected to the Senate, the second youngest man in the history of the Senate to get elected, and that I'm too old. But what hopefully I've demonstrated with age comes a little wisdom. I've gotten, I'm presumptuous to say this, but I've gotten more done than almost any president has in one term. And we got more to do. And, you know, Donald Trump, I think, is, I said from the beginning when I ran in 2020, that he's a real danger to the country, to our democracy. But I didn't plan on running because when in 2020, when Barack asked me to be vice president, I joined him, which is a great honor. And but after that, I became a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, my son, who was the Attorney General of the state of Delaware, was in the National Guard. He was the Attorney General of the state, elected, and he was one of the most fit guys in his unit, and ended up with stage 4 glioblastoma and died. So I didn't want any part of running, and wasn't going to do it until I watched on television what happened down in Charlottesville. Yeah. And when Trump said, when it was asked, what, you know, this young woman was killed, what do you think about this? He said, I think there are good people on both sides. Yep. That's when I decided I was going to run.
You said yesterday at the press conference that you would only drop out if the polls showed, quote, no way to win. What have those conversations with Vice President Kamala Harris been like? Do you feel as if she's up for the challenge?
Oh, I think she is. She's first rate. I wouldn't have picked her otherwise. And she was a hell of a prosecutor. She was a great senator. And she's first rate. And I think she's qualified.
One of the biggest criticisms of your presidency has been inflation. Ironically enough, the shoes that I'm wearing right now are called the Air Force One. They used to be $90. Now they're $115. A dozen eggs cost $4 now. Who's to say that if you were reelected, these pair of shoes right here wouldn't cost $130 or a dozen eggs wouldn't cost $8?
Every major economist in the world. 16 Nobel laureates on the economy said I've done an incredible job. It was 9% when I got it. It's down to 3%. It's going to go down to 2%. We have the strongest economy in the world. We still have to focus on the cost of things that matter to people. Corporate greed has increased. You know, before the pandemic, you had the corporate profits have doubled since the pandemic. And it's time there's an end to it. I mean, it's just greed. And so I've been working really hard to make sure everything from a dozen eggs to your shoes cost less. I mean, there's things we can do to control. And you have outfits like Walgreens and the major food distributors in America now saying they're cutting prices.
Yeah, Target was one as well.
And so I think we're moving in the right direction. And by the way, everybody said we could never do what we did in the economy. We have the strongest economy in the world.
It's hard to tell a person in middle America that we have the strongest economy when they're going to buy a loaf of bread and they feel like that price has increased. You're attributing economists, but just to the everyday person who's just
It
going to
matters.
work every day.
That's the household I grew up in. My dad used to have an expression, you know, a job's a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity, respect, what you have at the end of the month. And the fact of the matter is, I grew up in a household, a split-level home with a development that was 38 homes, built the same homes, with 4 kids and a grandpa living with us. And so we didn't have anything left at the end of the month.
Yeah.
And it's all about giving people a shot. Prices are coming down. They got more to go. And again, we have to, I think I have the authority with Congress, will be cooperative. I think you're going to see gas prices come down a little bit more. I think you're going to see the idea that we're going to be able to deal with rent, we're going to be able to deal with housing costs, and we have to move, I mean, look at what's happened with healthcare, look what happened in education. I was able to forgive the debt for, 5 million people, college debt, but the court tried to stop me and I found a way to do it. But it's a constant struggle, and we have to move in the direction of giving average working class people a shot and young people a shot.
For sure.
By the way, more young people got to start businesses because I provided money for them to start the businesses than ever before. More young people got started and made able to move what they did in terms of jobs and opportunities and wages. Wages are outstripping inflation now. But there's more to do. And again, it relates to corporate greed.
For sure. At the end of his presidency, former President Trump pardoned some hip hop artists, Lil Wayne, Kodak Black. He seems to have an allegiance from musical artists, particularly in hip hop. Why do you think that is?
Well, I'm not sure he has that allegiance, number one. Number two, if you look at his record in terms of African Americans and minorities, it's abysmal the way he handles everything. And but the answer is, I don't know if he has hip hop artists that are supportive of it. But I know that I got started in politics because of the African American community. When I was a kid, I was a young man in high school and college. My state was segregated by law. I got involved in the movement, and the reason I got elected when I was 29 from a very modest background was because of the black community. Every election that I ran, and whether it was an on year or off year, I got over 90% of the black vote, and the number of folks participating didn't slow down because it didn't reduce. So look, Trump,
There are some people who've made their mind up and they've decided that they are voting for former President Trump. What do you say to those people?
Lots of luck in your senior year. Come on. Look, what has he done for the youth of America? What has he done? He says he's elected, he's going to get rid of the ability to forgive student debt. What has he done for education? He wants to eliminate the Department of Education. What has he done when he was president? Tell me. What has he done to help young people in America? What has he done to deal with racism? What has he done to deal with the fact that you had the way in which African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans are treated? I mean, what has he done?
Your stance and support for Israel has been unwavering. During the debate, you said that we are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. You also said that we're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. Back in April, $26 billion in aid was sent or was approved to be sent to Israel. Why?
I said defensive weapons. I denied them offensive weapons that they were using, 2,000-pound bombs and the rest, because I made it real clear. They cannot use weapons that we provide them to, in fact, use in civilian areas. And that's why I put together this plan.
My question, though, is why is your and United States at the current moment support for Israel so strong?
Look, Israel if there weren't an Israel, every Jew in the world would be at risk. Every Jew in the world would be at risk. And so there's a need for it to be strong, and a need for Israel to be able to have, after World War II, the ability for Jews to have a place that was their own. But you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist. And the Zionist is about whether or not Israel is a safe haven for Jews because of their history of how they've been persecuted.
Are you a Zionist?
Yes. Now you'll be able to make a lot out of that because people don't know what a Zionist is. Do you know what a Zionist is?
I just ask questions, I don't answer.
By the way, I'm the guy that did more for the Palestinian community than anybody. I'm the guy that opened up all the assets. I'm the guy that made sure that I got the Egyptians to open the border to let good goods through, medicine and food but what's happening is, and I'm the guy that's been able to pull together the Arab states to agree to help the Palestinians with food and shelter. I'm the guy, and so it's not. I mean, I have been very supportive of the Palestinians. But Hamas are a bunch of thugs. Hamas is not worthy to. I was over there about 8 days after the massacre. Saw photographs of mothers and daughters being tied in a rope together, and kerosene poured on their head, and them burned to death. Nothing's happened like that since the Holocaust, and it's just not appropriate.
By the measure of your support for Israel, why would a Muslim or an Arab American vote for you for re-election?
Same reason why Arab Americans in the region support me. The same reason why, because it's the best way to keep peace, the best way to put things together, to make sure that there is a two-state solution in the region. And I've been a strong supporter of that. And everything I've done has been, I've gotten significant support from Arab countries in the region as well. Look, the idea here is that, for example, I got a call from the Saudis. They want to fully recognize Israel. In return, if the United States will give them a guarantee that they will provide weapons if they're attacked by other Arab nation, the one just around the corner, and that we'd allow them to, we would put a civilian nuclear facility there, we'd operate, our military, we'd operate it, so that they can move away from fossil fuels. That's a big game changer in the whole region. I've worked with El-Sisi of Egypt. I've worked with the King of Jordan as a friend. So I've been able to work with the Arab countries very well. And I don't have a prejudiced bone in my body. The Arabs are good people. They need help now. They need help.
Immigration is what many consider a big issue in America right now. During the debate, former President Trump said that immigrants are coming into our country and taking black jobs. In your opinion, what is a black job?
A black job is the same as a white job, the same as any other job. But you know what he means by black job.
What does he mean?
He means menial labor. That's what he thinks. You know, he thinks he's going to sell golden shoes, sneakers, and that's somehow. Look, he has no notion at all what constitutes. I mean, the idea that there'd be support for him and talking about how they're taking black jobs. They're not taking. Look, there's a reason why we are the most advanced nation in the world, the most progressive nation in the world, why our economy is the biggest. We're the only nation in the world that isn't xenophobic. Why is India? Why are all these other countries not doing better?
Do you feel like there's no xenophobia in America?
There is xenophobia, but not our policy. Not on me is not a xenophobia in America. Because look what I did. When we worked out a deal, with a bipartisan deal, to change the relationship and the regulations relative to the border, and it was Republican and Democrat, and I supported it. Trump got on the phone and called people and said, don't do it because it'll make Biden look good and me look bad. So that's when I took executive action. Took executive action working with the president of Mexico. Guess what? The number of people seeking to come into the country is down lower than it was at any time when he was president. And guess what? The same thing is happening where our economy is growing because we have 10,000 people, women or men, married to an American citizen, been here 10 years, and still can't get a green card. I changed that. That's one of the reasons. And anyway, I could go on, but.
I asked this question in an effort to show the younger generation that we have to coexist. So in the event that former President Trump wins this election, what is something that you feel he will do well?
I'm not being facetious. I can't think of a single thing. I'm serious. Think of what his what his objective is. It is totally anti-democratic. He says that he wants to be a dictator on day one. He means it. He says he will not recognize the outcome of the next election. He made up, I beat him by 7 million votes, and he went to, I think, 20 appeals to the courts all the way to the Supreme Court. Not one court said there was a single scintilla of evidence that he had. And what did he do then? January 6th, he got up and he encouraged people to go up and riot. Policemen were killed. People were wounded. People were hurt. The place was smashed up. They were hanging. Anyway, what did he do? He sat there in the dining room off of the Oval Office, watched it for 3 hours, didn't say a damn thing. And now he says if he loses, there'll be a bloodbath? Name me a president in American history said anything like that. One in all of American history. Name me one.
I asked this because it's a question that I've asked every guest that's ever been on the show. A quick Google search shows that your net worth is $10 million. Is that accurate?
I don't think so, but they're talking about the possibility. For 36 years, I was the poorest man in the United States Congress. 36 years.
You were the poorest man?
Poorest man of all 535 members of Congress. Poorest. I didn't feel poor. What I had my salary. It was a decent salary.
What were you making at the time?
I think it was started off at 42,000, ended up at 100 and something. But look, after my wife and daughter were killed, I wasn't going to stay in the Senate. But a group of senators, Republican, Democrat, came to me and said, "Look, stick around. Just stay 6 months. Help us out, organize." I was so stupid. I didn't realize they didn't need me to organize. We had elected over 58 Democrats. And we had elected a Democratic governor to appoint a Democrat. But I said, okay, and they probably saved my sanity. But what I realized was I could no more afford child care than fly. No way I could do it. And there's no way I could rent a place in Washington and keep my home in Delaware. So I started to commute every single day. And that's what I did because I couldn't afford to, and I had family. You know, there's so many damn heroes out there. Went through what I went through, don't have family. My sister and her husband sold their home, got out of their apartment, moved in to help me raise my kids. My brother was an old farmhouse I bought. My brother in a little barn fixed it up and lived with me. Took care of my kids. Every day I dropped my kids off at my mom's on the way to school, on their way to school. And so, you know, it's tough for people. That's why, you know, all the programs that I've initiated have saved the government money. Saved the government money. By the prescription drug, taking on drug companies, I've saved $160 billion over 10 years. And we're going to save a hell of a lot more. We're in a situation where when you put women, we give women and men who don't have options for caregiving, and you give it, make them available, it grows the economy. They're able to work. So we're looking at this backwards. And I think if you take a look at what most economists and all mainstream economists are saying about my program, remember when I got elected? We were going to have a catastrophe. We'd never get out of the hole that Trump left us in, the disaster we had. Well, guess what? We're having a soft landing, as they say. We have the leading company. Now we have to focus on the needs of ordinary middle-class people and poor working folks to be able to go afford everything from your sneakers all the way to eggs and butter and bread.
Well said. Mr. President, thank you so much for taking the time. We will 1,000%, in your words, see you on the ballot this November.
Unless I get hit by a train, yeah.
Let's hope that doesn't happen for your safety's concern.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.